thank you so much for joining us today to talk about the state of education in Arkansas.
It is great to be at the Ronald Reagan Institute. I'm so thrilled for this being here and this being a public occasion that we talk about education.
Great. Well, I want to start by asking you about an issue that I know you're very passionate about, and that is computer science education. In 2015, one of the first bills that you signed required computer science education classes in every public school in Arkansas. That's still a very forward-thinking idea, but at that time, it was especially so. Tell me a little bit about why this has been such a hallmark issue for you.
Well, of course, it started, I think I'm the only candidate for governor that ever spent $1 million in advertising about elect me governor, and we're going to have coding in every high school. That raised a lot of eyebrows. You expect to get elected on this issue? But it was really important to define it early as to the goal, as to why I got engaged in the issue. First of all, I was at Homeland Security during the George W. Bush administration, and I was responsible for security, to keeping America protected from a terrorist attack. And I quickly realized how important the data analytics, the information flow, the computer scientists were to keeping our country safe. And so I relied upon it, and I saw that. And then, more importantly, my granddaughter, Elabeth, who was a preteen at the time, made me a mobile campaign app that you could download on my campaign. And I said, my granddaughter's 11 years old. She did this as a summer project. This is something we need in every high school in Arkansas. So my granddaughter was an inspiration for that. And it's been very successful. We put a lot of energy into it, and excited that to be the my initiative through the National Governor Association this year. Will be promoting computer science education nationwide, and hoping that it can be scalable, some of the things that we did in Arkansas.
I'm excited about this commitment to future-ready learners. I think it's so critical. And one of the issues that came to light in the pandemic was the importance of connectivity for young learners, and access to high-speed internet that is reliable and affordable and lets them stay plugged into their learning. What work have you done in Arkansas to engage the business community and direct federal funds to be able to ensure that every student has access to high-speed internet?
Well, we've done a lot, but there's more to be done. And when I first got elected governor, we did not have high-speed internet yet in all of the schools. And so it was first the mission, and we developed, made the decision to have a statewide network to make sure, and I think we were in the top 3 states for high speed, meeting all the criteria for our schools. But that does not cover it. I mean, that was good and that was helpful. But as everybody noticed during the pandemic, the digital divide is so problematic to our country. Whenever the students work at the school and then they go home and they can't do the homework, they don't have access online, they can't compete with those that have that greater level of access. And then, of course, it was even more dramatic if they had to go to online learning and shift, that they were at a disadvantage. And of course, Arkansas is a rural state, and that digital divide is very, very noticeable and problematic. So what have we done? Yes, this is something that the government cannot accomplish itself. We have to rely upon our private sector partners to get that broadband out into our rural communities and where it is available in every home. We actually, before the American Rescue or the CARES Act funds came, we devoted state funds to a grant program where the private sector can apply for state funds to strengthen the opportunity to accelerate the movement of broadband in rural areas. And as a result of that, tens of thousands more have had that access. Now with the federal funds coming in that I'm grateful specifically says it can be used for broadband, we're going to be putting hundreds of millions of dollars of that into getting broadband out and reducing that digital divide. The private sector is an incredible partner in it. They're a great partner in our computer science education because they go into the classrooms, they show the students how important technology education is for their future, and that excites them more than anything. And then, of course, they've been very instrumental in helping us to get the broadband out.
Absolutely. It's been fantastic to see the energy of private sector partners in closing the homework gap. And it's going to remain an issue into the next school year. And I want to talk to you a little bit about lessons learned from this last school year. Schools stayed open in Arkansas by and large. What are your insights? And as you're thinking about preparing for next year and the measures that we need to be putting in place, what's top of mind for you?
The Delta variant. It is really, Arkansas got hit very, very early on. Our cases are high right now. Our hospitalizations are high. And we were at a point in Arkansas that we had dipped down where it was almost a non-issue. Life was normal. And everybody thought it was done with. Well, this COVID once again surprised us and came back with a tougher variant that is causing real problems. And right now, there's a lot of consternation about the upcoming school year. Now, let me start by saying that last year, one of the good decisions we made was to keep our schools open. We had last year in classroom instruction. Now, we pivoted virtual as needed, but that was one of the best decisions that I made that we were able to accomplish in Arkansas, because we're now seeing the mental health consequences, the challenges from isolation, the gap in learning. And it hit us even while we were having in-classroom instruction, because many schools had to pivot from time to time to online. But it was the right thing to do to keep the schools going last year. Now, if we talk about K through 12 education this coming year, the CDC is reevaluating. You can see that from the newspaper today about whether to require mask again in the lower grades where they can't be vaccinated. And, Arkansas is a state where we have a prohibition on a mask mandate. We don't have vaccination mandates either. Which is typical of a Southern independent rural state. Just culturally, that's not where we are. We've been through that. We did what we needed to do. And so I don't think that's going to be adaptable to our schools this year. I don't think parents are going to tolerate that. And so I'd like to see actually the CDC come up with two sets of guidelines. If they want to recommend what they think should be mask wearing in the schools, give states that do not have those kind of provisions, what are the best practices health-wise that we can protect our students? What are the measures we can put into place? So we have a ready for learning plan that we're adjusting for this next year. And the key is just get vaccinated. Now, that's for 90% of our school population and teachers, and we're promoting that, and we're trying to really increase our vaccination rate between now and the time school starts. We're going to have, emphasis on good ventilation. We're going to have some layered public health measures as you go into the classroom. And then, of course, if they're not vaccinated, they should be wearing masks. We just won't be mandating it.
Well, it's wonderful to hear there's a big vaccination push. And obviously, safety is the number one factor, I think, top of mind for families. Is there a conversation you had over the last year with a parent or an educator or a principal that affirmed to you that you were handling this in the right way?
Oh, yes. First of all, I'm a big sports fan. And so, and I've got grandchildren that play basketball at the high school level. And whenever we were, you go back when the pandemic first hit, everybody closed the school really nationwide, and people were fearful. So they wanted the schools closed, and we did that. And that was March, April, and May. And that was like a 3-month gap. And it was really a learning gap. And then I immediately purposed, I said, now that we've got time to get prepared, we understand it more, we are having school next year. It's going to be in classroom instruction. And I was firm on that from day one. But there was a lot of pressure, worries, understandable from teachers. And so I stuck with that. But I had letters from students that said, give us a chance to play this year. This is my senior year. It is the only opportunity. A girls volleyball player wrote a letter and said, I need to be noticed. I need to play this year if I have any chance for a scholarship. And so that's where you understood the connection between school and sports and how important it was to their mental health, to the opportunities that they saw. And so I knew we couldn't have sports if we didn't have school. So it was a motivating factor, and we had it. And so the letters that came in after the fact is, thank you very much, letting us have sports this year. Teachers who were worried about going to the classroom, they said, thank you for letting us have our kids back in the classroom where we can teach them one-on-one. And the teachers love that relationship, and you cannot have education without that relationship with a teacher. And that's what was missing.
I want to pick up on this thread of young people rising. You recently convened your economic recovery task force to commission a report from Heartland Forward, which is an Arkansas-based think and do tank. And the recommendations in that report really centered on the importance of workforce development and the idea of career-connected learning for young people, that we need pathways from education to employment. Why is this an important issue for you? And what are some of the strategies and policies that you've put in place to try to strengthen the pathways for students into upwardly mobile careers?
Well, thank you for the question. And this is one of the most challenging areas that governors have to lead on. And we've been working all through my tenure as governor on increasing workforce development, skills opportunity for our K through 12. And, we always want college to be an option. We want them to pursue that whenever that's their pathway. But we also want them to understand you can develop a skill, and that's an employable skill that you can have. What we've done is I set the criteria that we want to invest in career training centers, and the career training center has to reflect a partnership between K through 12, secondary, our post-secondary schools, and industry, because industry has to help guide it, because the whole idea of gaining a skill is to be able to get a job, and we want to be able to meet that need. So that was the criteria that I set. Whenever I first became governor, we had 55 schools in Arkansas that had no access to a career learning center. Now that's been reduced down to 0. So every high school now has access, every student, to a career learning center. And our partners in industry has been absolutely essential in this. They've engaged in it, they've invested in it, and they've helped guide what's the priorities in this region for the skills. Is it nursing, which is all over the state? Is it a machinist? Is it computer scientists and tech jobs? So they help guide the end result, and then we develop the pathway of skills training for that. We have more work to do. We've made progress, but that work is going to involve improving the quality, the centers of excellence in specific fields. And we want to be able to use some of our federal funds that are coming our direction for the investments in workforce training that will center around options in K through 12.
That's great to hear that you're able to leverage some of the CARES Act funding for that purpose. How are you going to make that sustainable, though? Is this something that's going to continue to be a priority?
It is. And so the CARES Act funds, the federal funds, should only be used for one-time investments that's not ongoing, and the rest should be our state funds. But, when you're talking about, machinery, welding, you're talking about these hard skills that we want to develop, that's an investment in equipment. And so that can be one-time investment, and we can supplement it with state funds down the road, but it absolutely has to be sustainable. This is not just a one-year effort, but it has to be ongoing, adjustable, because the needs of industry change. But there's nothing more heartwarming to go to a career learning center and see a student that struggled with education and all of a sudden found a niche of something they were really interested in. They applied themselves to that. And the result is they got a smile on their face, they're getting a skills training, and they know the job they're going to have when they get out of there. That's an example of what we have to do and expand that.
Governor, I want to celebrate your leadership of the National Governors Association and the work that you're doing to convene governors around the importance of K-12 education and innovation within the sector. I want to fast forward to the end of your term and ask you to reflect a little bit on what you want your legacy to be. What do you hope to be known for in terms of your accomplishments on K-12 education and helping to inspire young people?
Well, first of all, I don't want my legacy to be that I led through a pandemic, but I'm afraid that that's going to be part of the legacy. But actually, in education, I do believe that will be one of the hallmarks of how we invested, worked, and improved the infrastructure of education and the quality of instruction. And it starts with teachers. And so we've raised the minimum teacher salaries in Arkansas. Every session that we've gone together, I've asked the legislature to raise teacher salaries. They've responded that way. And this last session, we not only asked them we didn't ask them to raise the minimum this time, we asked them to raise the medium salary. Now, what that means is that the rural schools will have a hard time making that. Urban schools will make it. The rural schools have a challenge. And so for the first time in history, we set aside funds, separate funds that our rural schools can access so that they can meet and compete with the urban schools on teacher salaries. And so that's a unique approach. The first time we've done that in Arkansas. And so investing in teachers will pay dividends for lifetimes to come. The computer science initiative, let me just emphasize that we required it to be offered in every school, which included the rural schools. And then this last session, we mandated it to be a part of a graduation credit. To graduate from high school, you've got to have a computer science course. And so that's going to be another elevation of our computer science investments in Arkansas. That's part of the legacy. When you go from 1,000 students to over 10,000 students taking computer science, and it's going to escalate even more than that. And that's something that's going to last. And then finally, it's the reading initiative that I understood that reading is foundational to learning. And so we put in it's RISE, it's sort of takeoff from the Reagan Institute, but it's Reading Initiative for Student Excellence, third grade, read to standard, and have the culture of reading in the community, in the school environment as a whole. And then when a student falls behind, invest in helping them to catch up. Fundamental principles, teaching phonics, the science of reading, and that's something that we've retrained our teachers to embrace. So education has been a hallmark of my administration, and I hope that it's a lasting legacy in those areas.
Governor, I'd like to end with one more question. And you have an incredible amount of leadership experience as a governor, as a father, as a grandfather. What is your advice to young people today who are coming up in the world and trying to find their way?
It's really simple. And because young people they try to plan their future. That's sort of where we are. They compete, they compare with what everybody else is planning. So they want to plan their future. And I tell them that when I was in high school, I had a wonderful job in a factory. And I said, I think I could do this for a long time. And my brother made fun of me because he thought I was going to skip college and just work in a factory the rest of my life. But I did go to college, but I was uncertain as to what I wanted to do. So I picked my major as the first major that was listed alphabetically, which was accounting. And so I majored in accounting, and I did 4 years there. And then I got into debate. And in debate, it took me to a law school to read cases. And I fell in love with reading cases and the law. So I go to law school. And then law school, I'm practicing law in a small town and trying to make a difference in society. It led me into politics. And so the point of the story is life cannot always be planned, but it unfolds. And our job in young people is just be prepared for those unexpected opportunities in life. And that would be my advice. Be prepared.
Well, that's an incredible note to end on. And education is such a crucial part of that preparation. So thank you, Governor, for your work in Arkansas and for your leadership more broadly. So wonderful to be here with you today.
Thank you.